Hi, my name is Chris. I'm a software engineer at Socket Mobile, and today I will show you how to get started with the Capture SDK. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to create an Xcode project as usual. I'm going to choose Single View App for the sake of simplicity. Of course, you may choose whatever name for your app that you like, but I will choose Single Entry Swift. So now that we have a blank Xcode project open, the next step is to add the Capture SDK itself. So first what we need to do is open a terminal window. If you don't already have a terminal window open, you can use Spotlight Search by pressing Command Spacebar, searching for the word terminal, and press Enter. The next step is to open the project directory itself. So I copied this from earlier, so I'm going to quickly type that in, and then just paste it. Hit Enter. So now that we're in the directory, the next step is to initialize a pod file by typing pod init. This will create a pod file inside your project, and now we need to open that pod file by literally typing just open pod file. Now the third step is to add the Capture SDK. So right under, well, I guess it doesn't really matter, but under pods for single entry Swift, you type in the word pod, make sure it's all lowercase, and then SKT capture, and then save by pressing Command S, and now you can close this pod file. Now the last step is to install the pod file. So back in terminal, we're going to type in the words pod install. Hit Enter. Okay, so now it seems like we've had the project. What we're going to do is we're going to open a workspace. So a workspace is different from the project, the Xcode project that we created earlier. So we're going to type in the name of the project, .xc workspace. This is now what you're going to be using to work on your project from future notice. So we have just one other housekeeping task to add to this new XC workspace, and that's to add the external accessory framework. So we're going to open our info.plist file. We're going to add a property by clicking the plus icon, and then we're going to type in UI supported external accessory protocols, and then hit Enter. Now we're gonna open this little icon on the left, and under item 0 over here we're gonna type in com.socketmobile.chs and hit Enter. And that's it. Now we're finally ready to start using the Capture SDK. So we're going to go over to our view controller, and then we're going to import the Capture SDK. Next, we're going to create an instance of the Capture helper. I'll just call it Capture. Next, in view.load, we're actually going to set up the Capture SDK. So we're going to create a function called setupCapture, and then we're going to actually implement this function like so. Next, we're going to create an app.info object. I'm going to call it app.info. Now we're going to have to set 3 properties for this app.info object. The first one is going to be the app key. I'm going to set this to blank just for now. The second one will be the app ID. And then the third one is going to be the developer ID. Next, you need to add in these values that you received when you completed the SDK registration process. So I'm going to go ahead and pop in some sample keys. Now we want to set up the dispatch queue that Capture will run on. So I'm going to choose main. And then we're going to set up the delegate. And then finally, we're going to open with the app info object we created earlier. You can also use this result object to see if this was successful. Alright, that's all we need to do from here. So now we're going to implement a few of these delegate functions. So I'm going to do that in an extension. So I'm going to extend the view controller. I'm going to implement one device presence delegate. And in here, we can now be notified when a device arrives, which would be whatever scanner or RFID reader you're using, and when it's removed. Perhaps at this point you'd like to update your UI to somehow notify your user of these changes. The next thing to do is to get the data from scanning a barcode or an RFID card. So again, we're going to extend the view controller just to keep the code neat. And this time, we're looking for the decoded data delegate. And here, we're going to implement a function called didReceiveDecodedData. So what we're interested in here is the first parameter. So since it's an optional, we're going to unwrap it just to keep it safe. So we're going to call this data is equal to decoded data dot string from decoded data. And then I guess we can just print it just to make sure that we got the correct output. So we have one more thing to do before we begin scanning, and that will be just to put a quick message to let us know that the scanner has actually arrived. Alright, we're going to remove this. Now we're going to begin running on an actual device. Okay, so we have our output message that the scanner has arrived. So now that we're ready to test, I have two barcodes here that I'm going to be using to scan. So let's try with the first one. And as you can see, we have our data printed out here. And we're going to try one more. I think I scanned the wrong one. Ah, there we are. So this right here is actually a UPS tracking number. So if you were to paste this into the UPS tracking website, you can track wherever your package is or whether it's arrived or so on and so forth. And that's it for our test today.